deaths after a suburban childhood in Huddersfield. She set her heart on tending sheep, which she did with her then husband Clive, both of them raising their 9 children on a remote Yorkshire farm called Ravenseat. She made several TV series all about those challenges for Channel 5, and now she's returning to TV to tell the stories of other farmers in a Channel 4 show. Very good afternoon, Amanda.
Afternoon.
So Jane and I were just saying in the studio, and you'll probably be able to watch this interview later on the YouTube channel, you put us to shame. So you've come in here, you look absolutely beautiful, you look well-maintained, manicured, well turned out.
Not weathered?
Yes. No, not at all.
Weathered?
Not at all.
Ruddy-faced?
No,
Healthy.
not in the slightest.
Healthy.
Very healthy.
You do look healthy.
Is this a welcome break for you when you come and do things like this from being on a windswept hillside?
Absolutely. I mean, I was up early this morning to get a few jobs knocked out before I set off on the train. But
Now, what kind of jobs?
I brought a horse back in. I actually made up some breakfast and teas for horses, sorted out the fridge, sorted out a few sandwich boxes, told a few children off, and basically micromanaged, which is what I spend a lot of time doing. Fingers crossed I haven't had any calls to say anything's gone wrong, so hopefully things are okay.
And when you're away from the farm, because you're so responsible for so many children and so much livestock, does it stay with you? Is there the constant clicking
A
in
little
the back of
bit.
your mind? Have I shut that gate? All that type of stuff?
Shut the gate, the countryside code, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of logged in there. I'm not a great list person, so there isn't a sort of huge master plan. Should I drop off the mortal coil, nobody could find the list and keep everything sort of ticking over. But the way we've raised the kids is that they are quite independent. They do a lot of stuff for themselves. You see, there was method in the madness. So, you know, they do have the tasks, they do have the jobs, they do a lot for themselves. Obviously, Clive is there. We're co-parenting. That's how you term things. And he is overseeing things. And hopefully things will do my liking when I get back. That's what you have to do. You have to juggle, don't you?
Yes, we hope
I'm spinning
so too.
plates,
We
mate.
hope so too. What do you think the stereotype might be of farmers in this country for those who don't know much about the farming community?
Oh, check shirt, lumberjack shirt, I don't know. Quite a lot of facial hair. Male, perhaps, I don't know. I do believe there's a farmer on Love Island, actually.
Oh, there is, yeah, Will.
There you go. You see, I wasn't imagining. I haven't watched it, but I've been told all about it. So he's there smashing stereotypes. I think, yeah, there is a sort of general consensus and picture in people's minds. It's got to be wellies, shepherd's crook, sheepdog at my sides at all times. That's what they think.
And do you think it's a sympathetic kind of view of farmers, or not really?
I don't. To be quite honest with you, it doesn't bother me. You know what your idea is of a farm and what that should actually be. I just know that I do my job and I do it well, and I've always found it an industry that's very welcoming, open and accepting of whoever you are. If you're keen and if you're willing, I don't think it matters what you wear, what sex you are.
Is part of the remit of the programme on Channel 4, though, because you're visiting other farmers now, to try and kind of, I don't know, tell a more realistic story of what life on the land is?
Yes, it's
71% of our land is farmed, isn't it?
Yes, it's a very upbeat programme. It is. It does tackle some of the challenges that farms are facing, because it's not an easy time. I mean, there's a cost of living crisis, obviously, that has been very much at the forefront of people's minds. And it's the same in the countryside. We have a cost of living crisis, a food crisis. But I feel like the crisis that's going on in farming is basically we don't know what people want. It feels like everybody wants everything. You know, we want the landscapes, we want the view, we want the cheap food, we want high welfare, we want a place for recreation, we want green energy. It's really difficult to be everything to all people. So it was great not having the spotlight on me and going out and seeing how other people are doing it, how they're coping. Because, of course, the buzzword is diversification, how to make your farm profitable. And that's not easy. There's not a one-size-fits-all. So for some people, it might be tourism. For others, it might be creating energy. For others, it might be sort of getting closer to their point of sale and selling their products direct to the consumer. And it was those stories.
What about your own route to diversification? Because, I mean, you've done it. I mean, you are the living embodiment of how to diversify.
Absolutely.
But I read an interview in which you said that actually you earn more money out of taking images of your sheep than you do out of your sheep.
That's a travesty, isn't it?
Well, it is, actually, isn't it?
Last Tuesday, if you'd have come to the auction mart with me, a fat lamb at the auction mart, a Swaledale, a native bred lamb that will be 10 months old, it's had a good life, it's been grazed naturally, out on the moors, into the auction mart, £58
Right.
in money.
And it cost you how much to raise?
Goodnesses. That's the point. When it comes to doing the maths, you will never know the cost that goes into sort of being a grazier and livestock farming. And our costs have gone up just like everybody else's. Your cost of feed, your cost of electricity, diesel, everything. It's a tough job to be in, and of course the subsidies are coming out of it. So the market, well, we're being squeezed. And diversification for me, it was like looking at what I could do to basically make the farm profitable. And of course, we're a quite big family. And quite accidentally, I stumbled upon the fact that there was more people out and about, walking and rambling, and that I could serve them cups of tea. It was as simple as that. That was a little diversification. It began there. The conversation with the people coming through, talking to them, which of course led to being on the television and led to being asked if I wanted to do some writing. And that's where it all began.
And look at you now, Amanda.
It's just made me a whole lot busier.
What do other farmers who you've met in these travels for the Channel 4 show think about your diversification? Are they grateful to you for shining a light on farming? Is there a bit of jealousy?
And what about Clarkson?
What about Clarkson? Right, well, I feel like it's one of those things that, again, I've alluded to before. There isn't a one-size-fits-all. What works for one farm doesn't work for another. Obviously, there are farms that are picturesque and attract the tourists. There are farms that are more functional, should we say. You've got, you've got your extensive farming. You've got your more intensive farming. I guess it's about looking at your location and seeing what you can actually do with it. One of the farms that I went to, they were farming on a small acreage, and they were farming pigs. And I mean, to be a pig farmer now, that is a very tough way to earn a living. But they had managed to make sort of an artisan product. They were making salamis, cured meats, and actually selling it direct to the consumer. So they were managing to make ends meet. But it requires quite a lot of multitasking, multi-skills. In other words, the farmer that we talked about before, that's wearing his green wellies and maybe doesn't say so much, has to all of a sudden become a people person. He has to embrace the internet. He's not
going to be as Instagram ready as your good self, is he?
Exactly.
Would you rather we didn't press you on the subject of Jeremy Clarkson?
What can I say about him? Farmers love him. I'm absolutely sure of that, because he highlights the problems of farming, even in sort of even under his umbrella of humour and doing it all wrong. He has absolutely brought to the nation how difficult the job is. So yes. And when we talked before about farmers and stereotypes, he of course is not a born and bred farmer, same as me. So you have to farming covers a broad church. It covers anything and everybody. It covers somebody who is on a hill end farming sheep. It can cover somebody who is, pretty much an agronomist and growing cereals. It can even cover people like Jeremy Clarkson, who had nothing to do with farming and knew into it.
Yeah.
I was very struck, the two sisters who you meet on Shetland in episode 1 of the series, that they are the 7th generation of their family to farm that land. And I was struck that you said you rather envied them that kind of connection because you're a first-generation farmer. But surely that is the massive problem for some modern farmers, that they don't want to be the one who ends their farming tradition. That's a massive pressure, isn't it?
Of course it is. It's like that balance, isn't it? It's the traditional element is there, certainly in the kind of farming that we do, for sure. It's been going on for centuries. I personally don't have that tie with the land that they did, but times are changing, and you do have to a certain degree, move with the times and sort of read the room. That's incredibly tough.
Very tough. Would you ever be able to walk away from your farm?
I don't think so. I see myself as a custodian. So you're there, you are the keeper. I think if anything, farming, shepherding, you're very mindful of the passing of the seasons, the passing of time. you think to yourself, you just have a limited time, and what mark would you like to leave on the land? And for me, it's kind of a sense of pride, keeping the walls up, keeping the farm looking good. And I'm fortunate that the kind of farming that we do is traditional, and it is the embodiment of actually what people are wanting, what they're talking about now. The wildlife, the biodiversity, the ground nesting birds, the hay meadows, the triple SSSIs, peatland restoration. That's what we're doing because it's carbon capture. All of a sudden, these ideas that are being sort of rebranded and rehashed into a new way of thinking, a new way of farming, is actually how it always was. All that happened was at some point people got greedy. The system became too big too quickly, and farms like ours, I believe, are the way forward.
Can we just put a quick question to you from a listener in Berkshire? It's basically about the prices that supermarkets charge. You mentioned you got, 58 for that lamb, and then you go to the supermarket and a leg of lamb isn't cheap. So where does it start to go wrong? Who is making the money here?
Middlemen, of course it is. You see, the issue is, of course, farming is on the cusp of change. The subsidies are coming out of farming. Who is being subsidised? If you think about it, it's probably highly likely that farmers were able to operate just breaking even, maybe even making a slight loss or a small profit, and those subsidies were able to sort of keep things going. Now those subsidies are going, the problem is the supermarkets and the buyers want their same profits, their same cut. We don't set the price. We just have to go and see what people are willing to give.
Pay. Yeah, got you.
Our guest this afternoon is Amanda Owen, the Yorkshire Shepherdess. Can we talk a little bit specifically about Brexit? Did it bring you back greater control, or have you lost a lot through it?
No, to be quite honest with you, it destroyed our market. That's absolutely what it did. The type of land we farm, we're a country that has a lot of marginal land that is only suitable for grazing livestock, sheep in other words. And we had markets in Europe, Spain, Greece, France. They all wanted the lightweight lambs that we supplied. But unfortunately now that market is pretty much shut off from us. So, we can't change what we farm, particularly on a farm like ours. It's a tenanted farm. It's Ravenseat Farm. It's a tenanted farm.
What does that mean, actually, to those of us
It
who are
means
not farming?
it means that the farm belongs to a landowner.
Okay.
We don't own the farm. We pay rent on the farm. And do you know what comes with that, with the farm? Sheep. You rent the sheep. It's no good me saying, oh, well, lamb trade's terrible, I'm going to do something else this year. You actually take the sheep as well. And should you ever leave the farm, the sheep remain. It's a huge flock. They belong on the land. They have a homing instinct.
Right.
Will you benefit from levelling up at all, do you know?
I doubt it. I doubt very much. Once upon a time, 20 years ago, I used to feel like I was sort of master of my own destiny. I was on my own end. Nothing could touch me. I was doing my own thing. I was Kathy out of Wuthering Heights. It was just
How many
me.
kids did you have at that point, Amanda?
Probably zero.
Yeah, well, exactly.
me and me thoughts and my ideas.
Oh,
and,
fabulous.
yeah, looking out over the land. Everything's unchanged unless an aeroplane goes across overhead. But you're in this sort of wilderness. You're in this place that time forgot. Your phone can't ring. There's no mobile coverage. It's a step back in time. Then you realise the world seems to get smaller. You get your connections, you get your internet in. We still don't have mobile coverage, but somehow those connections bring with you the everyday stresses, and you realise that this place we're all interconnected, and you are subject to global forces just the same as everybody else.
That suggests to me that you're not all that confident that you will be levelled up anytime soon.
There's a distinct lack of confidence.
Okay. And actually, when you come down to London, I say come down because you have travelled to the south, and the burble is all about Nadeem Zahawi and his taxes and all the rest of it. Does it just seem like a distant dream, Ravenseat?
Well, it seems it never really leaves you. I mean, it's probably still in my house, probably still little bits of straw and God knows what in there as we speak. But it is kind of a mindset. It affects your whole being, your whole character. I feel like a place like that molds who you actually are. I feel like it gives you something. Those freedoms that I talked about from 20 years ago, standing there, you know, in this open space. I feel like that is what, I suppose, was the kick up the backside. It's given me the sort of freedom to do things.
Well, on to the 9 children, because it's actually illegal to do an interview with you without mentioning the 9 children.
Right.
And the 8th one, I think you gave birth to, is it in front of the fire on your
Yeah.
Todd? You didn't bother waking up your
No, I was
partner?
really fed up of giving birth at the side of the road.
Were
And I
you?
didn't really want to
How many had you
inconvenience
had
anyone.
at the side of the road?
6.
Oh.
6, and 2 in hospital. So the problem was that we talk about levelling up, but actually everything was moving further away from us, hospital services, everything else. And I decided that as they'd moved the goalposts and the hospital was rather further away, that actually I wouldn't even set off this time. It was great. I was really happy with it.
That was time 8. What, time 9?
Time 9, I had to set off again because that was too early. She was premature.
Oh, okay. But everything was all right, wasn't
Everything was all right. Everything
Yeah.
turned out okay. And I mean, just literally, 3 weeks before Christmas, we had another medical emergency on the farm. And that was a scary one, whereby one of the children was taken ill, and that involved, and we had markets in Europe, Spain, Greece, France. They all wanted the lightweight lambs that we supplied, but unfortunately now that market is pretty much shut off from us.
The Yorkshire Shepherd.
Our ambulance coming to pick us up. And it's at that moment, you know, people say it must be amazing, you know, living rural, living where you do. That's one of the drawbacks, right?
Right, well, that sounds very dramatic. Everything's all right there as well, is it?
Everything absolutely is all right. Absolutely is all right. But yeah, it was a scary moment.
Do any of your kids really not like the rural existence?
Well, they haven't said so. They haven't mentioned it yet, but they're quite within their rights to decide that they want nothing more to do with farming. We bring them up to be independent, free-thinking kids who have to make their own choices. When Raven went to university, I always pointed out that ever she got, so that she only had £1 in her pocket, not to ever buy sausages, and she must definitely go vegetarian or even vegan. I don't mind. They're their own people. They have their own way of thinking. We are there literally to lead them, give them hopefully some life lessons that will set them up fantastically for whatever they want to be. Not just farmers. We're not just sort of there to sort of breed 9 mini
it's not
farmers.
a farming factory.
No, Violet wants to be a doctor, she said yesterday. I mean, whether she is, she's very intelligent, she gets good grades. I think a bedside manner would be rubbish because she spends the time dealing with animals.
How old is she now?
She is 12.
Okay, she has got time.
She has got
to improve her bedside manner.
I have read, Amanda, that of an evening you like to work out on the treadmill and occasionally wind down with an absinthe.
Oh my goodness, what have you been reading? Right, okay. Right.
Both of those things I find extraordinary. I hope you're watering down the absinthe. It's a mighty strong drink.
It
But also,
is.
how do you have enough energy to want to go on a treadmill
I do.
after a day on the farm?
I haven't. I must admit, since Christmas, I am feeling that I've rather neglected the treadmill. It depends what's going on the farm. Since Christmas, we've had some pretty dire weather. We had a lot of rain and a lot of wind, and the sheep, they were hurling. They were standing with the backs up. They were hating it. I was doing the same. It was just waterproofs, sort of drips on the end of my nose. It was just dreadful. Then it froze, and then it snowed. So like this weekend, I don't think we've stopped. It has just been so full on because the land is frozen, the sheep and the cows are hungry. You have to get into a bit more of a sort of regimented system during the winter. So there's actually a lot of lifting, carrying, running about. So I have been tired. And no, I don't drink absinthe every night.
Okay,
God,
well,
that's
that's
sorted.
the headline from this interview.
No.
I repeat it, you look absolutely amazing on
Thank
everything that you do.
thank
Jane
you.
struggled in on the district line. I came in full stops on the Jubilee line. We don't look like you do. Thank you very much indeed for your time. When does the Channel 4...
Wednesday, apparently.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
And
And
how
it
many
did-
episodes?
6.
Six
6 episodes.
In the first episode about Shetland, I urge anyone to watch because it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful.
Beautiful place.
And there's one of the most gorgeous sequences where you go riding along the beach with the two sisters that you're working with on the farm, and the sheepdogs are joining in. And I've never felt so jealous of anybody in my life. I thought you all look great.
Thank you. That was quite a sort of amazing moment. I enjoyed that very much, but I can't but help remember that as I put my foot in the stirrup and got into the plate, there was a call came in from Channel 4 to say I was only insured up to a trot.
Okay, right. I thought you were going to say something else.
No,
All the
I was
reins
only
back.
insured up to a trot. I
Amanda,
thought,
lovely to meet you. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
indeed.